There's a reason why so many people can't sit with their own thoughts, and it isn't loneliness. Being alone and being lonely are two completely different things. The problem is that most of us were never taught the difference. From the time we were young, happiness has always shown itself in the same way. It's a group of friends laughing together, or a couple walking down the street. And if you were by yourself, people assumed that something must be wrong. So most of us spend our lives trying to escape being alone. We fill every silent moment with music, videos, messages, social media, just anything that can keep us away from sitting in a room with our own thoughts. But what if we've been looking at it backwards? What if being alone isn't something to fear? What if solitude is actually one of the most important experiences a person can have? The truth is, some of the most meaningful moments in your life won't happen when you're surrounded by people. They'll happen when it's just you. And I think for a lot of us, that's a pretty difficult concept to accept. Think about the last time you were completely alone, when there was no phone, no music, and no distractions. Just you. For most people, that sounds uncomfortable, not because silence is painful, but because silence is honest. When there's nothing distracting us, we start noticing things we'd rather ignore. The worries we've been avoiding, the mistakes we keep replaying in our heads, the questions we don't have answers for. Being alone forces us to confront ourselves, which can be terrifying. It's much easier to stay busy, to keep scrolling, talking, and moving. Because if we stop, even for a moment, we might hear the voices in our head that's been waiting for us to listen. The voice asking, "Are you actually happy? Is this really the life that you wanted? Who are you when nobody's watching?" And those aren't easy questions, but they are important ones. And they only show up when everything else gets quiet. A lot of people confuse loneliness with being alone, but they're not the same thing. Loneliness is feeling disconnected. It's wanting connection but not having it. Solitude is different. Solitude is choosing to spend time with yourself. One feels empty and the other feels peaceful. You can feel lonely in a crowded room, and you can feel completely content sitting by yourself. Loneliness isn't about how many people are around you, it's about whether you feel understood, connected, and at peace with yourself. And that's why some people spend their entire lives chasing relationships, friendships, and validation, yet still feel completely empty. No amount of company can fix a relationship with yourself. At some point, you have to learn how to enjoy your own presence. And most of our lives are spent performing. Not necessarily intentionally, but we all do it. We adjust ourselves depending on who we're around. We laugh differently, talk differently, and act differently. And after years of doing that, something strange happens. We start to forget who we are underneath it all. Whereas being alone completely removes the audience. There's no one to impress, there's no one to entertain, and there's no one to seek approval from. And for the first time, you get to meet the version of yourself that exists when nobody else is looking, to find your real interests, opinions, and dreams, not ones that you've been told to have, the ones that genuinely belong to you. There's a kind of freedom that comes from being comfortable alone, a freedom that most people will never experience. Because once you're okay with being by yourself, something changes. You don't need constant validation, and you stop measuring your worth through other people's opinions. You stop chasing approval from people who were never paying attention in the first place. your happiness becomes less fragile, less dependent on circumstances, less dependent on who texts back, who likes your post, who invites you somewhere. You begin realizing that your value isn't determined by how many people choose you, it's determined by whether you choose yourself. The people who fear being alone will often settle for relationships that make them miserable, friendships that drain them, and situations they know aren't right, just to avoid the feeling of being by themselves. But when you're comfortable alone, you gain the ability to walk away from things that aren't good for you. And not because you're cold, but because you're no longer desperate. The better your relationship with yourself becomes, the less frightening solitude starts to feel. Being alone isn't a punishment, and it's not a sign that something is missing. It's an opportunity. It's a chance to slow down and to breathe and to understand yourself. To discover that life's most beautiful moments happen when there's no one around to witness them. Just you and the quiet.